A nightmare at sea where gold turns humans into killers and souls into prisoners. The film opens by showing a luxurious cruise ship named Antonia Graza sailing across the open sea in 1962. The passengers are seen enjoying a lively party while listening to the singing of a female performer, except for one beautiful young girl who looks bored because she is the only child on the ship, surrounded entirely by adults. Seeing this, the captain feels sorry for her and invites her to dance. But their moment of happiness does not last long when a mysterious man in a black suit activates a deadly trap, pulling steel wires from both sides that slice through everyone on board, killing them instantly. "40 years later, we are introduced to a team of scrap ship hunters led by a captain named Murphy. Their ship, the Arctic Warrior, is currently towing an old vessel that they plan to sell to a scrap dealer. However, during the journey, the hull of the ship they are towing turns out to be leaking and begins to sink. A female crew member named Epps quickly grabs her equipment and asks the others to help patch the hole so the ship can be safely brought to port.
I give it 5 minutes before she floods!
After finally reaching land, they earn a large amount of money from selling the wreck and celebrate their success at a bar. Their achievement attracts the attention of a weather patrol officer named Jack Ferryman. Jack shows Murphy a photograph of a massive ship floating in the middle of the ocean. He took the photo about a month earlier while patrolling the Bering Strait, but the ship appeared to be abandoned since there was no response when he tried to contact it by radio. At first, Jack assumed someone else would eventually find it, but as of 2 days ago, the wreck was still there, completely unnoticed. Jack believes Murphy and his team might be interested, especially since the ship is located in international waters, meaning whoever finds it has the right to claim it. If they agree, Jack only asks for 20% of the ship's total value. Otherwise, he will offer the information to someone else. Murphy then discusses the offer with his crew, considering that they have just returned from 6 months at sea, one of the ship's engines needs repairs, and Greer is set to get married next month. Murphy leaves the final decision to his team, and after a long discussion, they all agree to take the job. As people who make a living salvaging shipwrecks, it would be a shame to pass up such an opportunity, especially since the location is not too far away and would only take about a week to reach.
I was out in the middle of the strait when I came across this. You get a name off this boat? No,
This was in the Bering Strait?
Yeah. I want 20% finder's fee, whatever she's worth.
10%? Instead of your 20% finder's fee.
Fine. But I go with you.
Eventually, all of them, including Jack, head toward the location of the ship.
I think it took a little too much off the side.
Upon reaching the Bering Strait, their journey is battered by a violent storm. In the darkness of the night, the radar detects a large ship directly ahead. A man named Santos reports the sighting to Murphy, but strangely, the ship suddenly disappears from the radar. Because it is too dark, Murphy orders Santos to turn on the searchlight and attempts to contact the ship by radio, but there is no response. The path ahead appears completely clear, yet out of nowhere, a massive ship suddenly emerges right in front of them. Fortunately, Santos quickly pulls the brake to reduce the impact.
This is civilian tugboat Arctic Warrior.
Huh? Now do you believe me? Holy shit.
After learning the ship's name, Murphy recalls that the luxury liner Antonia Graza was reported missing around 40 years ago, and oddly, there was never any distress call. At the time, many people searched for it, but no one ever managed to find it, and the ship was eventually forgotten. According to maritime law, since it has never been recovered, everything inside the ship now belongs to whoever finds it. Murphy then asks Epps, Dodge, and Munder to accompany him to inspect the ship while Greer, Santos, and Jack remain below to stand guard. Upon reaching the bow, they find no significant damage aside from the ship's structure being worn down by age. They are also unable to find any lifeboats, suggesting that the passengers may have used them to abandon the ship after something went wrong. Murphy warns everyone to be careful, as 40 years drifting at sea would have left the ship's body fragile and corroded. Inside, they discover that much of the ship's furniture is still in fairly good condition, with drinking glasses and dinner plates neatly arranged as if they had just been used. Shortly after, they hear the ticking of a clock, which puzzles them since the winding mechanism of a pendulum clock should have stopped long ago. Without realizing it, a child's toy on the table begins forming the words "welcome" as if greeting their arrival. When they enter the bridge, Munder steps on a rotted section of the floor and nearly falls. As Epps tries to pull him back up, she sees the apparition of a young girl in a white dress, who then vanishes instantly, clearly the same girl seen at the beginning of the film.
You always smell that way.
In the control room, Dodge discovers a digital watch, even though such watches did not exist in 1962, indicating that someone must have found this ship before them. This raises the question of where those people went, but Murphy refuses to speculate, believing that since no one else is here, the ship still belongs to them. Murphy then orders his crew to return to the Arctic Warrior to rest.
Anyway, 2 months after she set sail, she...
Back below, Jack asks what really happened to the ship and how it ended up in these waters. As someone who has spent most of his life at sea, Murphy admits that this is the first time he truly does not know what happened, but the situation reminds him of a cargo ship called Marie Celeste. 4 months after leaving England, the Marie Celeste was found drifting in the Mediterranean Sea with no captain, no passengers, and no signs of damage, as if it had been sailing on its own, earning it the reputation of a ghost ship. Murphy believes that anything can happen at sea without warning, so he does not want to take unnecessary risks by staying too long and decides they should tow the ship the next morning. However, the Arctic Warrior's engine has not been fully repaired yet, and Santos worries that the ship may not be strong enough to tow such a massive cruise liner. Greer suggests returning to port to get additional tugboats, but Munder rejects the idea since it would take 2 weeks to go back and return, so they decide it is better to fix the engine first while continuing to assess the ship's condition.
Any sign of what might have happened? How she got here?
I've known the sea a lot longer than you, Dodge.
While the others rest, Jack approaches Epps, who appears troubled after returning from the ship. Epps tells him that while helping Munder, she saw the ghost of a little girl. Jack says that such things are not unusual for him, especially since he is a patrol officer who often encounters strange occurrences at sea, and advises Epps to get some rest because they have a big job ahead the next day.
I think I saw something I couldn't possibly have seen. I think I saw a little girl.
Good night.
The following morning, they discover that the ship's hull has been breached and water is starting to flood in. Upon closer inspection, the damage appears to be recent, most likely caused by strong currents pushing the ship into rocks around the strait. They must patch the hole immediately before towing it, since pulling a leaking cruise ship would be like towing a truck with 4 flat tires. Murphy orders everyone to board the ship to deal with the problem, while Santos stays behind on the Arctic Warrior to work on the engine. Before boarding, Greer suggests informing the nearest Coast Guard so that someone would know their location if anything happened, but Murphy refuses, saying he does not want any uninvited guests. In short, they bring all the necessary equipment aboard.
Hey, you want to play like that? Yeah.
Make sure we've got no more problems before we get to work.
Dodge and Munder head to the main engine room. Epps and Jack work on the interior, while Murphy and Greer inspect the ship's surroundings. While Epps is in the swimming pool area, she notices numerous bullet holes in the walls and spent shell casings at the bottom of the pool, indicating that a shooting once took place there. As she is about to leave, Epps is suddenly startled by the appearance of the little girl again, causing her to fall. Hearing her scream, Jack immediately rushes to her side, and Epps tells him that the girl's apparition appeared once more and frightened her. As the two of them leave the pool area, they fail to notice blood steadily dripping from a hole in the pool wall, increasing until it eventually fills the entire pool.
Looks like someone used it for target practice.
Elsewhere, Murphy discovers the captain's quarters and inspects the room, finding everything seemingly normal with no signs of damage, even a glass and a bottle of liquor still sitting unfinished. Meanwhile, in the engine room, Munder and Dodge find the area already flooded, forcing them to dive underwater to repair the leak. Dodge tries to contact Greer or Epps for help, but strangely, the walkie-talkie does not work, and instead plays the sound of a woman singing.
Epps, the engine room is totally flooded.
I think she's fucking with us.
Epps, can you hear me?
In another part of the ship, Greer hears the same singing through his walkie-talkie, then hears someone calling his name from the grand hall where passengers once gathered for dinner and parties. There, he notices a poster of a female singer known as Francesca. As he is about to leave, Greer finds a cigarette still burning on top of the piano, which he assumes belongs to Epps. But he becomes suspicious when he sees lipstick marks on the filter, even though Epps never wears lipstick. As he leaves the room, Greer does not realize that Francesca's ghost is watching him from a distance. Meanwhile, Jack and Epps are inspecting the ship's laundry room, where they find a door connected to the cargo hold. Epps opens the door to check for leaks, but they are shocked to discover a pile of corpses and a cargo hold already filled with water. Upon closer inspection, the bodies appear to have died recently, estimated to be around 2 weeks old. When they try to leave, the door suddenly slams shut and locks on its own, forcing them to find another way out through the cargo hold, which leads them to the main cargo area. There, their attention is drawn to stacks of crates that had become rat nests, only to discover that the crates are filled with gold bars.
Oh my God, look at this.
Shortly afterward, they hear someone calling for help from the kitchen, only to realize that the voices belong to Dodge and Munder, who were merely trying to prank Epps. The discovery of the gold-filled crates and the bodies in the laundry room is immediately reported to Murphy and the rest of the crew, leaving them overjoyed at finding such a massive treasure, estimated to be worth around $300 million. However, the gold raises serious concerns for Greer, as gold stored in cargo crates must belong to someone and would almost certainly be insured. Moreover, all identifying marks on the gold have been deliberately removed, suggesting it may be stolen and connected to the mysterious disappearance of the ship. Since boarding the vessel, Greer has noticed numerous unsettling signs, such as the singing woman and the still-burning cigarette, convincing him that the ship is either cursed or deliberately hidden. He also questions the discovery of bodies that died only 2 weeks earlier, arguing that it should be a warning that something terrible could happen to them as well. Murphy, however, once again refuses to speculate, insisting that they have seen no direct threats so far and firmly believes that the gold now belongs to them, since maritime law states that anything found in international waters belongs to the finder. With that reasoning, he tells the crew not to worry about unnecessary concerns. Accepting this, Greer suggests they quickly take all the gold and leave the ship immediately. They begin moving the crates out while Greer and Santos return first to start the Arctic Warrior.
Please get the hell out of here.
Hey, yo, Greer! Fire it up!
You see these gauges rocking.
Hey, stop.
Unbeknownst to them, the gas tank valve opens by itself, and at the same moment, the ghostly voice of the little girl desperately warns them not to start the engine. Santos suddenly smells gas and realizes the danger, but it is already too late as Greer has started the engine, triggering a massive explosion that completely destroys the Arctic Warrior. As a result, Santos is killed, leaving the remaining crew trapped aboard the Antonia Graza, and Murphy is consumed by guilt over Santos's death. Epps urges the others to pull themselves together, reminding them that they are a professional team, their equipment is still on board, and they have gold that must be taken back to the city, making their best option to repair the ship so it can stay afloat and reach the nearest island while waiting for rescue. Greer strongly disagrees, insisting that they should instead build a raft from materials on the ship and head to the nearest island immediately, fearing that more disasters will follow if they stay. He blames Murphy for not contacting the authorities earlier, as help would have arrived by now. But with all communication equipment destroyed along with the Arctic Warrior, no one can save them except themselves, assuming they do not become the next victims of the ship. After venting his frustration, Greer heads to the Grand Hall to calm himself by drinking liquor, while Murphy returns to the captain's quarters and finishes the drink he had left earlier.
Should have called it in.
Meanwhile, on the bridge, Epps searches through the passenger manifest to identify the little girl and discovers that she was the only child on board, named Katie. As Epps walks down the corridor, all the cabin doors suddenly slam shut except for one, as if Katie is guiding her toward it. But when Epps enters the room, she is horrified to find the girl dead, hanging inside. Terrified, Epps tries to calm herself and removes the locket hanging around Katie's skeletal neck. Inside the locket, she finds a photograph of Katie's parents, and at that moment, Epps is shocked when Katie appears before her as a spirit, begging her not to close the locket because after so many years she can finally see her mother and father again. When Epps tries to place the locket into Katie's hand, it passes straight through her, making Epps realize that Katie is only a spirit. Katie then explains that she was the only child on the ship because she had actually been traveling to America to reunite with her parents, who had arrived there earlier. She has not seen them for more than 40 years, and it is possible that they are already dead by now. Epps then asks why Katie's spirit is still haunting the ship. Katie explains that she is not alone, as many other spirits are trapped on board because they have been marked, and none of them can be freed until the powerful entity controlling the ship is destroyed. Hearing this, Epps asks who that entity is, but before Katie can answer, something strange begins to emerge from the ceiling, frightening Katie so badly that she urgently warns Epps to leave the ship as soon as possible or everyone will die before disappearing completely.
We're all trapped here. We'll all be ferried when he has all the souls he needs.
So why aren't you with yours? What's wrong?
Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Dodge and Munder find several cans of food that still appear intact. Driven by hunger, they decide to eat the 40-year-old canned food, and to their surprise, it tastes incredibly good.
Winners do not empathize with losers.
That's all right.
No way. We get back? Are you serious?
I'm serious. It's good.
A lifetime supply of titty magazines and toilet.
They eat greedily, but suddenly the food transforms into writhing maggots, making them violently nauseous. Elsewhere in the Grand Hall, Greer is stunned when the once ruined room suddenly returns to its former glory, complete with passengers and Francesca, the female singer. Francesca approaches Greer and begins kissing him, and although Greer believes he is hallucinating, the kiss feels so real that he becomes completely entranced. Francesca then walks toward another room while slowly removing her clothes, and Greer, already losing his sanity, follows her, only to be lured into a trap where the ghost deliberately causes him to fall to his death. In the captain's quarters, the ghost of the captain suddenly appears before Murphy and shows him the ship's log, revealing a hidden truth. About 2 days before the ship was officially declared missing, they encountered a cruise ship named Lorelei that was nearly sinking in open waters. Photographs reveal that they discovered crates filled with gold and secured them in the cargo hold, confirming that the gold originally came from the Lorelei. Almost all of the passengers aboard that ship were found dead, except for one young man, and when his photograph is shown to Murphy, he is immediately shocked. Realizing something is terribly wrong, Murphy rushes off to find his crew, but he is suddenly confronted by the ghost of Santos, who blames Murphy for his death.
10,000 virgins at the pearly gates.
Moments later, Epps arrives and asks what is happening, but because Murphy's vision has been manipulated, he mistakes Epps for Santos and attacks her without realizing the truth. Fortunately, Jack hears Epps calling for help and knocks Murphy unconscious. Because of this incident, they are forced to lock Murphy inside an empty water tank for everyone's safety. The crew believes Murphy has lost his mind due to guilt over Santos's death, unaware that his actions are the result of his mind being manipulated. Sticking to their original plan, they decide they must repair the ship as quickly as possible to reach the nearest island, and they cannot simply abandon Murphy behind.
Dodge. I'm good. Munder.
In short, they manage to patch the hole in the ship's hull and then pump the water out so the vessel can float again. After finishing the repairs, Epps looks for Greer, who has been missing for some time. In a corner of the corridor, Katie appears once more and shows Epps where Greer is, revealing that he has already died after falling due to being lured by Francesca's ghost. Katie then touches Epps and shows her a vision of what happened on the ship 40 years ago. That night, all the passengers were enjoying dinner and a dance party in the Grand Hall, unaware that a group of criminals was sabotaging the ship by poisoning the food and setting up the deadly wire trap seen at the beginning of the film. Katie was the only one who survived at first because of her small size, but the criminals eventually found her alive and hanged her in her cabin. After killing all the passengers, the criminals went to the cargo hold, where their true objective was revealed, stealing the gold bars that had previously been taken from the Lorelei. However, one member of the criminal group had secretly betrayed the others and formed an alliance with Francesca. Together, they slaughtered the rest of the group so the gold would belong to them alone. But the betrayal did not end there. It was later revealed that Francesca had been working with the mysterious man in the black suit seen at the beginning of the film. Following their plan, Francesca then turned on her partner and killed him. Shortly afterward, the man in the black suit betrayed Francesca as well, murdering her and marking his palm with a strange symbol. This confirms that the man was indeed Jack, as the photograph shown earlier to Murphy revealed Jack as the sole survivor from the Lorelei. Epps immediately rushes back to where Murphy was being held, but she arrives too late, as Jack has deliberately filled the tank with water, causing Murphy to drown. In the engine room, while Munder is diving to repair the suction system, Jack intentionally activates the ship's propeller, pulling Munder in and killing him as he is crushed by the spinning blades. Epps then meets Dodge in the control room and warns him that one of them has betrayed the group. Suddenly, Jack appears and asks what happened to Murphy. Knowing that Jack is the traitor, Epps pretends not to know anything and secretly hands Dodge a firearm to stay alert, while she plans to dive down to look for Munder. Before Epps can dive, however, the engine room fills with blood, confirming that Munder is already dead. Back in the control room, when Jack tries to leave to look for Epps, Dodge stops him, which angers Jack, who threatens Dodge and tells him they do not have time for games and orders him to step aside. Remembering Epps' warning, Dodge immediately shoots Jack, knocking him down. But it proves useless because Jack is actually a demon who cannot be killed.
Die for.
Meanwhile, in the engine room, as Epps prepares the explosives, Dodge suddenly appears and stops her from detonating the ship, arguing that if the ship is destroyed, the gold will sink with it, and it would be better to repair the ship, return to land, and sell the gold. Dodge's words make Epps suspicious, as he is behaving strangely, does not ask about Munder, and even begins flirting with her despite the fact that they have no relationship. Sensing that something is wrong, Epps threatens to press the detonator if he dares to come any closer. With his disguise exposed, the figure finally reveals his true form as Jack and demands that Epps surrender. Jack admits that he has killed all of Epps' teammates, and that he also knows Epps can communicate with Katie, the only spirit on the ship he cannot control because her soul is pure and cannot be marked. In contrast, the souls of sinners can be marked easily, allowing Jack to control them completely. Jack makes it clear that as long as the ship remains afloat, everyone who comes aboard will ultimately share the same fate. Hearing this, Epps demands that Jack tell the truth about who he really is and why he brought people to this ship. Jack then reveals that he is a soul collector, a demon tasked with serving his master by gathering the souls of sinners. Once enough souls have been collected, they are sent to where they belong, hell. Jack confesses that he does all of this to atone for the sins he committed in his past, and in return, he was granted eternal life so he could continue collecting souls endlessly. However, if the ship sinks, his master will become enraged because Jack will no longer be able to carry out his task. For that reason, Jack offers a deal, asking Epps to let the ship remain afloat, and in exchange, he will spare her life. From Jack's confession, it becomes clear that what happened on the Lorelei is exactly the same as what is happening on this ship. Jack used gold bars as bait to exploit human greed, causing passengers to turn on each other and kill one another over the treasure. After everyone died, Jack marked their souls so he could control them. When the Lorelei was about to sink, the Antonia Graza happened to pass by, took the gold aboard, and rescued Jack, who pretended to be injured. Through this, Jack successfully moved to a new ship and gained more victims. Gold is the most effective bait for corrupting humans, which is why the gold had no labels or identifying marks, because from the beginning it was merely a tool used by a demon to awaken human greed. Jack's plan was disrupted when the Antonia Graza struck a reef, so he deliberately lured Murphy's team to the ship, hoping they would repair the damage to keep it afloat, while also becoming additional victims, just like the bodies found in the laundry room. They were people Jack intentionally tempted with the promise of hidden treasure. Although demons always offer manipulation and false bargains, Epps refuses to side with him and remains determined to end the curse by destroying the ship with explosives, even if it means risking her own life. The situation suddenly turns when Jack attacks, swinging a pipe that knocks Epps into the water as he tries to kill her. Epps manages to evade him and, with her remaining strength, grabs a harpoon and fires it at the detonator, triggering a massive explosion that finally destroys and sinks the Antonia Graza. Before the ship completely goes under, Epps swims with all her strength toward the surface, and at that moment, Katie's spirit appears before her, as if to say, "Thank you." Thanks to Epps's bravery, Katie and the souls of the passengers are finally freed from the demon's grasp that had trapped them on the cursed ship for decades. Two days later, Epps is found and rescued by a passing ship and taken to the nearest port. But as she is about to be taken into an ambulance, she sees several crew members loading the crates of gold onto their ship, with Jack following behind them. From this, it is clear that the ship will become Jack's next target, because after the souls of the sinners from the previous ship were freed, Jack has no choice but to begin his mission all over again to continue serving his master, the Demon King. In the end, the film delivers a message that wealth is one of humanity's greatest weaknesses, as greed can drive people to do anything to obtain riches, even killing one another, which is why demons can so easily mislead humans without effort, simply by exploiting the greed that already exists within them. And with that, the story comes to an end.